at a brand new monster and a new element. A new class is on the way, and it is going to be coming real soon, so let's have a look. So we've just got this brand new teaser, and inside of it we see this new sigil illuminate, and interestingly behind it we have a new silhouette for a new monster. This monster I am nicknaming Floridora because it's a huge petal-like monster. It looks like it's got a flower-like bloomage to it, lots of tendrils coming off of it. It looks sort of reminiscent to Flores to me, the structure and body shape of this. It's got little ornaments hanging off of it, a much more ornamental piece. It looks like whatever this thing is. Specifically, if I'm looking at the tendrils towards the side, it reminds me of Party Island and specifically Light Island, Phosphor to those droopy, elongated elements that you see from the bottom of the Titan design. It feels like it's really shining through with this. However, when I look at this monster, I feel like there is something a little bit off here. Specifically, inside of the teaser, if we look at it, you will notice that it is not animated, this silhouette. Every single teaser that we have really received for a new island, new class, like Meebkin, all of the workshop monsters, they have always seemingly had this animated shadow. This seems to suggest to me that this might not even be something that is going to be animated inside of the game. And if we heighten the exposure on this thing, you can see that this thing comes from Light Island. So whatever this is, it is teasing a new monster for Light Island, whatever that might be. This already presents some interesting conclusions to make here. However, if we go on over in game, maybe we can work out a little bit more about this teaser. It says, for this brand new YouTube premiering tomorrow, mind you. Oh. It says, we've been doing some soul searching. Soul searching. This is, I would say, the main teaser we have toward what this is going to represent inside of the game. And if we're thinking about souls, I think we need to think very broadly about what they mean in terms of the game's lore. We know that the Colossals, they have colossal spirits, and they are imbued inside of the natural islands themselves, and the Colossal Islands too. This soul reference draws me to that, and if I'm looking at the brand new sigil that seems to represent this class, it reminds me so immensely of the Colossals. The Colossal sigil, it is basically twisted upside down. It still has reference towards the magical class sigil, as we can see if we go on over to the Sanctum logo, for example, and Nexus, that sigil there, it represents the magicals, and that's shining through with this. Specifically, I think with this, we're really looking at the Colossal sigil. But what does this connection mean? Well, if I'm looking at this design, I brought up Party Island references. I feel like a lot of people are going to automatically be thinking about the Mirrornauts specifically with this, especially seeing as though I have recently made that theory, and it feels like that could be coming into fruition. However, the mention of souls here, and the fact that this looks like it's not really animated as such, definitely presents some interesting conclusions, I think, to make off of what this teaser could be. And I think, therefore, it's important to reference what soul could mean for the monster itself. As if we're thinking about the class, the word soul must be associated to the individual monster, and I think the case behind this is that the soul is going to be infused into whatever this is. So imagine, let's say we have a colossal spirit, just as an example here. If we have a colossal spirit, maybe that is going to be infused in this brand new class of monster. And I would like to bring up here too, this does not seem like it's going to be an element where I can really picture it being where we are going to have multiple elements inside of this class. It feels like it is very as though it's going to be just one individual element that we are going to encounter. And when I'm considering souls being embedded in here, I automatically go back towards the Wub-otos, the wonderful Wub-otos, our theories behind prototype Wubboxes coming to the magical island. I feel like this connection, it is absolutely unprecedented. There is a lot of opportunity here that this could be exactly what this is, especially because it's not animated. We've got the Colossal sigil here. We know that the Wubboxes are supposed to act as neurons for the Colossals individually, and it would make a lot of sense for that sigil to be represented with a class where they are meant to be failed experiments that are supposed to save the Colossals by Galvana. So what exactly do I mean by these failed Wubbox experiments? Back in the day, Galvana would have had to have made experiments towards making Wubbox, and so the Colossals could be brought back to life inside of the game as we see them now. It was basically a contingency plan put in place by Galvana in case the Colossals ended up imbuing themselves like they did, so that they could continue living as actual beings with their spirits imbued, and they allow for them to function. Considering this matter, the failed experiments must have gone somewhere when Galvana made Wubbox inside of the pocket dimension, likely ethereal island. But what exactly can we picture from this? With Wubbox, I think we have to think about what Wubbox is. Wubbox is a very special monster because rather than your typical monster, which often makes its sounds from its instrument-like components on itself, Wubbox makes it sound through its animations, its movements, its huge, goofy, comical nature, and its huge expressions. It is such an exaggerated monster, and I feel like we are going to see that shine through with whatever this class might be. This, therefore, I think, if we're going back to the teaser itself, is going to represent the new Wubboxes, whatever that might look like on the magical islands too. Large, expressive mouths, creatively designed limbs, a human-like nature coming across from its animations. And when we're thinking about these Wub-otos, I think drawing back towards my original theories, please go and watch that if you've not. I went into it in a lot more detail over there, but Chill Step I think would be perfect for Light Island. Different styles of dubstep, that is what I would expect from Wubbox. We've had dubstep, but what about the other styles? Chill Step really would suit that Light Island atmosphere. It's got such a melodic tone behind it. It feels like that would be perfect. I think that this brings a lot of questions towards the new island, as I do think we often do get a new island inside of Anniversary. It feels weird to say that, but we do, man. So, Workshop, for example, was last year, Mythical before that, Light Island, Colosseum, the list goes on. Psychic, every year we do often get a new island. And with this new class, I think it brings into question how this might be integrated into this new trailer. I personally couldn't picture how this could interrelate into a new island itself, and therefore I'm actually going to go off on one and maybe say, maybe this isn't an island this time. It also brings into question how these Wub-otos are going to be brought about. Are we going to see them on more islands other than just the magical islands, the key 4? Are we going to see it on Sanctum? There's lots of questions here, and I love this teaser. I thought that it's so deliberate with all of the references, like the Colossal, and it's so subtle in the way that it does it. It's really hard to work out from this, but I would say personally that this is a Wub-oto we are looking at here, a dormant state one. But what can we expect from the Light Island one? Now, if we're thinking about design, I want to go back to my initial ideas behind the Light Island Wub-oto. This one I am picturing to be really horror themed. When Galvana was tinkering around with its experiments, it eventually reached its limits. It didn't quite know what to do. And with these Colossals and it wanting to save them, it thought, all right, you know what? I'm going to imbue a Colossal spirit inside of a Wub-oto itself. You know, this might actually be the most accurate I have been in a theory without even knowing it, man, because it feels like the soul element could have some kind of soul infusion with it. So that's crazy. My idea was that this artificial spirit would float around this Wub-oto, and whenever it would make its sounds, it would come out, this spirit, and circle around itself and make the Wubboxes' demeanor change, making the monster's eyes turn red and its demeanor turn almost psychopathic, making wild, unexpected movements and emitting an ominous and dark dubstep sound whenever the ghost appears. And frightened by this change, the ghost moves away, causing the monster to revert to its previous state at the end of its sound. Something what I'm interested in seeing with these Wub-oto counterparts is why they were failed experiments too. And this Light Island Wub-oto, the reason why I pictured it could have failed is due to its inability to form relationships with other beings. Basically, its isolationist behavior, specifically with the ghost, for example, where it just gets angry whenever it's around people. I feel like that would be a key point to point out with these Wub-otos, why they failed, and their lore specifically is going to be so interesting. But now, let's have a look at some fan art. So we have Tenebroise's sketch and basically loads of other people. I asked if anyone has any fan art in a server, and everyone just made them. I'm so honored. Well, let's have a look. So we have this one by Ghoulsby, looking a little like a prismatic here. This one by Dipster Punter. My goodness, this one is in the thumbnail. We have a huge bulbous like body. You can really see the flowery components on this. They've even named it Phosphora, perhaps hinting that their idea behind the soul infusion could be the Titans themselves. How interesting. Then we have Piramethews, much more of a jelly-like one. Tenebroise, perhaps with the sketch here representing really accurately what this could look like. This might actually be the most accurate towards an in-game representation of the dormant form. And overall, when I'm looking at these, it just proves to me all the more that this doesn't feel like it is a monster. It feels like a dormant state. Wub-oto. But anyway, guys, wow, new class. When I saw that teaser, I was quaking, I was shaking, I was waking, awoken. That is the correct phrasing for the Wub-otos, the Wubboxes. Wow, yeah, that is an ending right there.